All right, let's break this down. We're about to dive into one of the most complex, most daring rescue missions you can imagine, and we're going to look at it through the eyes of an operator, someone who has actually planned missions just like this. This isn't just about what happened, it's about how they pulled it off when everything, and I mean everything, went wrong.
So, it all kicks off on day 39 of a pretty brutal conflict. An F-15E gets hit, the crew punches out, and for them, the world just stops. Now, search and rescue teams are always on standby, and they scoop up the pilot, like, almost immediately. But the WSO, the weapons systems officer, he's alone. He's deep inside Iran, and you can bet the enemy is already on their way. It's the absolute worst-case scenario for any pilot.
And then you hear his voice, the first words from the ground. There's no panic, no fear, nothing like that. It's just, God is good, enemy 3K to the north. That one sentence tells you everything you need to know about this guy. He's calm, he's a total professional, and he's already gathering intel. His training is completely taken over.
But, getting him out wasn't going to be simple. Not even close. In fact, the first attempts to protect him and the other downed pilots, well, they just escalated the whole situation, turning a bad day for one airman into a full-blown catastrophe.
And this is where things just go completely off the rails. Two A-10s, callsign Sandy, roll in to provide cover. One gets shot to pieces, and the pilot somehow, miraculously, wrestles it back to base. The second A-10 pilot isn't so lucky, he has to eject. And then the helicopter sent to get him get absolutely shredded by enemy fire. So in just a few hours, you've got 4 aircraft hit or lost, and the original guy, the WSO, is still on the ground.
So with total chaos unfolding, what do? Well, as former pararescuer man Aaron Love explains, you don't panic, you don't improvise, you fall back on your training, and you execute a very specific playbook. There's a formal process for this kind of insanity.
And that process has 5 phases: report, locate, support, recover, and reintegrate. From an operator's point of view, you have to give it to them. The Air Force Rescue System nailed the first 3 phases. They knew he was down, they knew exactly where he was, and then they started the support phase.
So the WSO is located, and the mission shifts to phase 3, support. And this is where you get a front row seat to what happens when the entire might of American air power focuses on protecting one person.
I mean, really think about that for a second. How do you protect one guy in the middle of an entire enemy nation? Now, the WSO did his part. He showed some incredible survival instincts and climbed to a defensible spot on high ground. But still, he was one man against, well, everyone. The response had to be absolutely overwhelming.
The answer was to build him a fortress in the sky. They called it the box. You had Apache helicopters taking care of any close-in threats. MQ-9 Reapers were blowing up roads and bridges to slow enemy vehicles down. Space Force was feeding real-time intel from orbit, while other agencies were feeding fake intelligence to the enemy just to confuse them and send them on wild goose chases. It was a total all-out effort.
The message to the enemy, as Aaron Love puts it, was simple and absolute. If you went inside that box, you were met with biblical levels of violence. You got murdered. This invisible, lethal bubble bought the mission planners the most precious thing in the world: a little bit of time.
Okay, so now we get to the recover phase. The WSO is safe for now, but they still have to physically get him out. And the plan they finally decided on was so unbelievably audacious. It had this dark, historical echo that hung over the entire operation. See, back in 1980, there was Operation Eagle Claw, a mission to rescue American hostages in Iran that ended in catastrophic failure, a national embarrassment. That failure, by the way, is what led to the creation of modern special operations forces. And now, all these years later, they were planning to do basically the exact same thing. Only this time, it was way more complex, way deeper in enemy territory. The stakes just couldn't be higher. And just like Eagle Claw, the plan immediately went sideways. The 2 huge MC-130s touch down on this dirt strip and just sink into the soft ground. They're stuck, hopelessly stuck. But here's the difference between 1980 and today. The team on the ground didn't hesitate for a second. They knew the planes were a lost cause, but the mission wasn't. They got those Little Bird helicopters unloaded and in the air in minutes, screaming towards that mountaintop. So the Little Birds get to the WSO, and in the middle of a massive firefight, they pull him out. The primary mission is a success, but in solving one problem, they've just created an even bigger one. The WSO is safe, which is great. But now, you have over 75 elite American operators and aircrew stranded deep inside Iran. You've got 2 disabled 9-figure C-130s just sitting there, and a couple of small helicopters that don't have enough gas to get out of the country. It is an absolute, unmitigated nightmare.
This is where you really see what special operations planning is all about. When your primary plan is shot and all your backup plans fail, you have to go deep into the playbook. The commanders on the ground had to call an audible for something they call Plan X.
And Plan X showed up in the form of an aircraft you've probably never even heard of, the D-8. This is a crazy specialized plane that can take off and land in ridiculously short distances on surfaces that would tear a normal plane to shreds. It's basically the ultimate off-road escape vehicle with wings.
And this final part is like something out of a movie. 3 of these D-8s come screaming in at treetop level to stay off the radar. They land right there in the field, they cram every single person on board, and then they power their way back into the sky, leaving the 2 giant C-130s behind for the enemy to find. Against all odds, the mission was complete. Everyone was coming home.
So, when the dust finally settles, what does this unbelievable story really mean? Beyond all the courage and the wild improvisation, this mission sent 2 really powerful messages. Now, the first message, that one's for the adversary. It's a staggering display of power and reach. It tells them that American forces can push hundreds of miles into their territory, execute an insanely complex mission, have it all fall apart, and still have the resources to get every single person home safe.
But there's another message being sent here. And honestly, it's a far more important one. And it wasn't sent to the enemy. It was sent to every single American soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who puts on the uniform.
And that message is a promise. It's the sacred creed that is the bedrock of the entire U.S. military. That no matter where you are, no matter how bad it gets, we will move heaven and earth to bring you home. It's the promise that